Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back again to talk with you about everything going on The Amazing Race 38 episode 5, a very exciting episode. Double U-turns and all sorts of drama in the streets of Croatia. And here with us to talk about it, our chief Amazing Race correspondent, coming to you live from King's Landing.
I literally looked for a picture of King's Landing I was going to put up behind me, but no, it's just regular old Dubrovnik back there. I'm very excited to be talking Amazing Race with my two favorite Amazing Race chums.
Yes. Okay. Well, we will get very chummy talking about all of it with a man who has no shame. 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 Here he is. Give it up for Mike Bloom.
Oh, Rob, I thought I had you fooled. I thought you thought I was Puya. I had the costume down.
Thought it was Puya.
Purely coincidental that there was a fisherman this week because I had this Puya cosplay just ready to go.
Yeah, I didn't know. Maybe I thought were you standing Jag and Jazz with the beard?
I mean, listen, I would say if they did not have beards beforehand, they might have had to grow them to go into hiding from all the Izzy and Paige fans after this episode.
Yes. Okay. Well, it was a dramatic episode of The Amazing Race. And while the teams were at each other's throats at times, I mean, look, this is what I like about The Amazing Race.
This is the fun and good part for you?
Yeah, look, hey, everybody has their thing that they like about it. And for some, it's like to see the world. That part is nice and all of the Amazing Race lore. But I like it when the girls are fighting.
Well, I mean, the great thing about having a bunch of teams that already know each other is they come in with beef.
Yeah.
Some of them, it seems. I mean, that is really the thing to talk about. It's something that's been highlighted the past few episodes. We were wondering if these petty grievances would be addressed on another reality show entirely. And indeed, they were. Though I will say overall, an incredibly emotional episode of The Amazing Race. Obviously, a lot of ire inspired from at least one of the uses of the U-turn, which then also inspired a lot of humor. Izzy and Paige, not gonna lie, had maybe one of my favorite reactions ever to someone being U-turned in the history of The Amazing Race, just one-liner after one-liner. But then, like, abject devastation and simultaneous inspirational happiness at the end as these sisters are crying and clinging on to each other, for dear life as they weep in the streets of Dubrovnik, trying to make sure their ramshackle go-kart goes down a hill in 36 seconds.
Yeah, and such a nice moment between Hannah and Simone there.
Hannah
at
and
the
her
end
sister.
Yes. I'm sorry?
I was just making a Woody Allen reference, Hannah and Her Sisters. Is that the movie?
Yes.
Woody Allen's canceled, Mike.
No. He'd be interesting to race around the world with. He has a lot of interesting family background.
I would like to not.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay. All right. Where were we? Okay. Hannah and her sister, Simone. What a sweet moment between them. I know we all had the chance to talk to them. Jess and I did the exit interview with them. They're just super impressive.
Yeah, they're just really nice people too.
Yeah. Because I think that where in this episode it was Simone who ended up having more of the difficulties in the tasks. Like you could have seen a world where another sibling, and listen, and we know in King's Landing the siblings, they don't always get along.
So
okay,
I couldn't make the Woody Allen joke, and you made that joke.
I didn't say that sometimes in King's Landing the siblings get along really well, but. You wouldn't have even like, okay, if it's like, oh man, I can't believe you're blowing it. It was like, no, I love you. You're great. You're incredible.
I mean, that image of
not
Hannah,
one cross word from Hannah.
And I loved them sort of like breaking down, not the fourth wall, but I guess the barrier of the permeable state between partners on the roadblock. We're like, okay, you're the only ones here. Hannah, you can stand at the finish line and like cheer your partner on. Like that was so freaking heartwarming. And I think sometimes when we talk about The Amazing Race, it's weird to say because we've had 38 seasons full of this, but like this show is full of incredibly heartwarming and inspiring dynamics. I think a lot more of the discourse is around the couples who fight and the dramatics that occur. But when you look at like an Emily and Molly story, for instance, or even here where, again, like Simone has, for lack of a better term, doomed their team, put them in last place due to her performance in the roadblock. And all Hannah does is like look at her and say, like, look at me smiling. It's okay. I want you to smile. And then like she's telling her don't cry as she's crying as well. We dissolve to the one shot of them at the pit stop where like Hannah has her head on Simone's shoulder. Like, again, you can be simultaneously weeping at this idea of just, again, this being so incredibly sad, yet so heartfelt at the same time that you could tell it didn't matter what the final result was because it was already spelled out. What mattered in that moment was, like we talked about last week, being there for each other when they needed each other most. And it was one of those episodes that like make you want to call your sibling and be like, oh my God, I want what they have.
When's National Siblings Day? I'll have what they're having.
Yo, I'm an only child, so you guys have fun with that.
Yeah. That's like, I see it on Facebook. I'm like, this isn't real National Siblings Day. Stop it. When did they start that? Like 2017?
Well, should they have done that? Should Natalie and Stephanie have done that to be like, oh, Kyle and Taylor's National Siblings Day. Can I get a first place?
Yeah, can you let me go first place? Okay, yeah. Hannah and Simone, they did a great job. We'll talk about everything here from the episode. But let's talk about what we did witness in this episode. The teams flew into Croatia. We hadn't had this yet in the season where there was one event that caused everybody to have a reset. That was this one flight that went into Croatia. And so basically in a season where we had basically very disparate groups of all sorts of different people and very big distances between teams in the front, the haves and the have-nots, everybody's on this one flight, which I heard reading on Chat BCC was a really rocky, turbulent flight.
Well, what did they say in particular, Rob?
Oh, okay.
I believe, Taylor got locked in the bathroom, I believe is what she said.
During the worst part of the turbulence, yeah. So, yeah, basically, and then everybody lands at the same time, and we're back to a flat-footed tie to get to our detour here, where we're going to end up seeing Fisherman Hall or Skin 'em All.
Well, I have to say, we need bunching points every so often.
Yeah.
They are necessary because we were starting to get a little bit bored with the fact that we had kind of two separate groups of teams with very little mixing. And I think sometimes it's very easy to think, well, the bad teams are in the back and the good teams are in the front and the cream rises to the top. But I think there are several teams in here that proved themselves last week when we had a little bit of bunching. We had some teams that came up from behind and really showed that they are much better than their past performance would show. And if you're not going to have a bunching point every now and then, why even have legs? Like, why not have it be one big race? So I'm happy to see that we're mixing it up a lot. And so we did see quite a bit of teams kind of jumping places or falling back. And I think it was good.
Yeah, and we can at least say, when you look at the top of the leaderboard and you see once again Tucker and Eric, Jag and Jess, Joseph and Adam, it's not because they were already so far out ahead and they were only competing against like 5 or 6 teams, right? Like they were competing against anybody. So even if we got similar results, at least it was sort of like earned by their own merit, as we saw almost like instantly from what Tucker and Eric did with the Fisherman's Hall side of the detour.
Yeah. Jess, do you want to speak at all to the Dubrovnik? This is where they went into Croatia, which I didn't realize that they did not mention at all in the episode that this was like the exterior for all of the King's Landing shots in Game of Thrones. But after about 10 seconds, I had to Google like, wait, hold on. Is this what I think it is?
Well, this is why it's famous now. I mean, it really got a boost when Game of Thrones filmed there and sort of put it on the map. Like Croatia was kind of the under the radar tourist spot for a few years. And then it just exploded after Game of Thrones happened. And they now have a pretty brisk tourist business. Just people like wanting to see King's Landing and stuff, even years after Game of Thrones has been off the air.
Yeah.
It's still so firmly entrenched in your mind as like it's the Game of Thrones place. And it honestly, Rob, it made me nostalgic for the
It
time
did.
when we were allowed to put any old nonsense on RHAP, and you let
No
me do
nonsense
it.
nowadays.
No nonsense. Well, our nonsense is more curated.
Mm-hmm.
But Rob let me write a fan fiction, basically, that was a whole ass amazing race in Westeros with Game of Thrones characters. And he let me be on a podcast with him about this.
Yeah, I remember.
We had, I think, maybe the best relationship Chiron ever in Jaime and Cersei, the dating siblings.
See? Mike, see, it all comes back.
Exactly, dating or related. But yeah, I loved being in Croatia, the Kelly Wentworth of European countries, if Jess's description holds.
Yeah. Do you feel like that we should have gotten some kind of like Game of Thrones related task? Like,
well, we are staying in Croatia next leg, so there's a chance it might pop up again.
What are they going to do? Push a kid out a window?
I don't know. I feel like that, I don't think it's a coincidence that they picked like this location to like set a leg at the Amazing Race, right? And have them run through the streets.
It's a beautiful city, and there's a lot to do here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably all the actual thought that went into it. Like, I don't think Bertram Van Munster is like a Game of Thrones stan.
You don't think
here.
so?
Bertram Van Munster does sound like the name of some sort of like craven old man up in the north.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, where is the lie, Mike?
Yeah. Maybe spell Bertram with like 3 R's though.
Yeah, and like a Y somewhere in there. I don't know where.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're overdue to come back to Croatia. We've been, I think, 2 other times in Amazing Race history.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic country. It's beautiful. I think that's really all there is to it. And, different parent companies. We don't need to be cross-promoting a show that's been off the air for a decade that isn't even the same parent company.
Well, just give it a little bit of time, Jess. It might all fall under the same umbrella.
Yeah, I know eventually all media will be owned by one dude.
All roads lead to Westeros.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But for right now, different parent companies. We don't need any cross-promotional synergy yet.
Okay. All right. Fisherman's Hall versus Skin 'em All. And I don't know, it on paper, the skinning the fish doesn't sound that hard, but apparently it was.
Well, I think that Jess brings this up all the time. It is one of the cardinal rules of the Amazing Race, which is like, hey, when you get into a situation where it is something that is physically exerting or something that is more dexterous or, finicky, if you have the ability to just power through the physical task, that is the optimal one to take. And so I do not find it a surprise whatsoever that all of these guy teams end up taking it, because it didn't really seem like any of them were getting lost. It was an incredibly simple, straightforward task, as opposed to, again, this type of very finicky type of stuff with the fish, where even I think the biggest experts of the fish were told there was too much waste going on. They had to bring in the Doge of Croatia to be like, too much waste, get it out of here.
Wait, so was it too much waste means that they left too much of the fish, or that they cut off too much of the fish and they had to start back from one?
They left too much of the fish on the bone. What you're trying to do is like have bone and fish and have it be separate. But it was all these food tasks. It makes me kind of sad. Like, look at all that food they're wasting. But then
I know, but it's
they
so
keep
ugly,
showing the
though.
cat.
Yeah, to be fair, the cat was having a field day.
Was Sir Pounce? Did he make it?
Evidently, he survived the wildfire.
He's actually sitting on the Iron Throne now.
Yeah, that cat stole the show.
It's the prince who was promised.
Yeah.
I think the cat was having a great time because the cat got to eat all the leftovers.
Yeah. All right. So
don't say leftovers around Taylor, by the way.
All right. So some moments that happened with the fish. Rabina cut her hand open.
That was rough. I mean, I've seen enough Top Chef to know that, like, usually you
a lot
just
of
stop
violence
down.
at King's Landing.
Exactly, just a little bit of blood let. But they were able to taper up, and it was right as rain. I was worried because, again, I'm used to the Top Chef thing where it's like, okay, this entire batch of X is ruined because I bled into it. But again, this monkfish was not being prepared for anyone in particular, so I think it was fine. And plus, it was probably thrown away as well for too much waste at the end of the day.
It wasn't for human consumption, but it was getting consumed by someone.
Okay, so Tucker and Eric are the team that they get through carrying the nets first, and they are the first to arrive at our double U-turn board. And here we go. We're so back. Double U-turn time, baby. Now, Tucker and Eric decide, hey, we don't, unlike Rubina, we don't want the blood on our hands.
Yeah, it makes sense. Again, this totally makes sense coming from the perspective of Big Brother players. Not to say that, like, racers certainly haven't espoused this idea of, like, hey, I'm out ahead. Don't mind me. I was in first place the entire time. But I do feel like we hear this phrase all the freaking time in Big Brother, particularly when it comes to decisions made by head of households of, like, I got to have as little blood on my hands as possible. And it only makes sense that the first team to do so is helmed by the guy who declared moments before winning, my hands are covered in your blood.
Yeah. Listen, different show.
Totally different show.
Yeah. All right. So for Tucker and Eric, was this the right decision?
Yeah, it was smart. They don't have to do it. So why not avoid risking having people mad at them?
Mm-hmm.
The only downside I could think is, now we got a blip of a Tubina reunion.
Yes.
If it's more of a not Tubina reunion for the majority of this race, I wonder, is there going to be some sort of resentment when Tucker and Eric found out that Joseph and Adam had U-turned Christine and Rubina?
See, I feel like should there have been some resentment on the part of Rubina to be like, hey, my guy. And again, we know ultimately it did not work out. But it was this like a sign of like, hey, like he's not necessarily doing everything in his power to try to make sure that we're not getting U-turned.
You know, it's possible that he could have looked out for her, but it also...
Hey, everybody, you take care of Rubina. I'll take care of you.
U-turn, take care of Rubina, if U-turn can.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, I cannot.
Mike had a great interview with Boston Rob today.
Listen, we'll maybe plug it at the end, but get ready to watch Boston Rob maybe on ABC on your screens next year. Former Amazing Racer.
Okay.
Yeah, evidently he was just like hanging out in Grand Central the other day.
Oh, yeah, he was in a cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing something sort of promotion for Dunkin' Donuts. Is it real Kahlua that you get at Dunkin' Donuts?
There's a Dunkin' Donuts Kahlua caramel swirl, and there was a mystery pourer, celebrity pourer, alongside Salma Hayek, and that turned out to be none other than Boston Rob, who was in a coffee cup in Grand Central for about 5 hours the other day, which seems like a task in and of itself on The Amazing Race.
Wow, I should have gone and checked that out.
It's not Smarten Cup.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Tucker and Eric, they move on. They don't want any part of the U-turn board. Okay, here we go. And I thought this was so wild of like the train wrecks are back together.
Yeah, and which is wild because they're like, all right, everybody, let's all work together. And at least they're like, nope, we did that.
Yep, bye.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not the driver's seat. We are not participating in that. And they're, all right, they're off. So it's left to Jag and Jess and then also to Joseph and Adam on what to do. And so, all right, Jag and Jess. This is hard to talk about, I feel like, because I very much like Izzy and Paige. Jag and Jess are nice guys. I've met them. So, but they don't like each other. They have beef. And so and it's no secret that Izzy and Paige don't like Jag and Jess.
Yeah. I mean, didn't Izzy say like they hate us, which is fine because we do as well?
Yeah. I think it's a little unclear. Like, did Jag and Jess hate Izzy and Paige?
I don't think it's personal.
I feel like that maybe they are not their favorite people, but I also feel like that it seems to me to be a little bit more of a one-sided beef of like maybe Jag and Jess don't love Izzy and Paige, but Izzy and Paige seem to strongly dislike Jag and Jess.
Well, I think the two of you can probably speak to this better than I can. Because I did admittedly, this is a Big Brother season that I spent more time on than I typically do when it comes to Big Brother. So I did see a lot more of this. But was their relationship in the Big Brother house more contentious than just we're in different alliances and we targeted each other?
I mean, that is, it's still kind of contentious in and of itself. I mean, Izzy's boot was one of the biggest moves of the season, and Jag was part of one of the forces to do so. And I think
Who's HOH? Was it Cameron's HOH though?
it was Cameron's date. That was the pie week. But remember, it was going to be Felicia getting evicted, but Jag and Matt helped flip things, and that was the whole argument between Corey and Jared as well, 5 times, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it was not like a direct stab in the back. I mean, Izzy had much more acrimonious words for Corey than she did for Jag on the way out. But I think, there certainly is some resentment. Also, the fact that, as she mentioned in the first episode, just the idea of like, she, was working behind the scenes to get him evicted only for him to immediately come back. That does have to sting to a certain extent. I mean, from what they were talking about, right, it seemed like they were okay coming in, at least from a Jag and Jazz perspective, of like, okay, we know them at least, so like maybe we can work on something here, but they felt through various ways and means, okay, we can't go down that avenue, so let's
I totally get it why Izzy would be especially annoyed. And we know Izzy. We've watched Izzy, and we know how, that Izzy feels strongly about things. And there's so many great moments from Big Brother you could think of where Izzy is really feeling something passionately and is very strong in her convictions. And so totally get where she's coming from. I will say that probably Izzy and Paige did not do a good enough job of hiding their feelings for Jag and Jazz to make this an easy enough decision for Jag and Jazz.
I don't even know how personal it was with Jag and Jazz because, Jag is a gamer. We know this. I think he probably looked at the field and he said, I got to use this U-turn so that people don't use it on my allies. And I got to use it against a strong team that I'm not aligned with. And the strongest team that he's not aligned with that's behind him is Izzy and Paige.
But Jess, I feel like you've always said, do not use the U-turn unless it's going to be the kill shot, unless you will never see this person again. And I think that Jag and Jess, their thinking was, hey, I know they would U-turn us, so we're going to U-turn them.
That's a dumb reason to U-turn someone.
Right? Like the thinking is faulty because now Izzy and Paige have survived the U-turn and now come into the race with a real chip on their shoulder. So I get the logic of they would have done it to us, but you reached the board first.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing is they do not need the U-turn unless it is to protect somebody that they're working with. And I don't even know that anybody they were working with needed protecting.
No.
Yeah.
I think it should be more of like a Tucker and Eric situation where they get to the board and they're like, we're way out in front. We don't need to do this because we're not in danger. And anybody we put on there is not going to necessarily be in danger. Yeah. I agree. I don't think they needed to do it. I could see valid reasons to do it.
Yeah.
But I think all it did here was just make people mad that they didn't need to make mad.
Yeah.
Two things can be true.
Two things can be true. Yeah.
I am happy this created objectively good TV. Like, I'm happy they used it. I can also say this was a terrible move because I found, and here's the thing for me, is that I feel like Jag and Jazz approached this situation as they would a head of household. This was Tyler Crispin, 1 step ahead, 2 steps ahead, right? Like, I got to get you before you get me. But the issue with the double U-turn specifically is that it's as important, if not more important, as to what the second team U-turned is. If you take that shot, you also have to look out for the possibility of, okay, well, Izzy and Paige might U-turn a team that's behind them and stay in the game. And so then we follow it up with something that I am still incredibly confused about as to whether Jag and Jazz wanted, which was, hey, Joseph and Adam, you U-turn Rubina and Christine. If your goal is to get rid of Izzy and Paige, why are you doing that? It's essentially putting someone up next to, if you're, again, Big Brother terminology, you're not putting someone up against a pawn. You're putting someone up against someone that could also be voted out at an eviction.
Well, the thing I thought was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Joseph and Adam say that they like Izzy and Paige and they want to protect them.
Yeah, and also want to protect Hannah and Simone.
Yeah,
also to make sure that they're not going to be U-turn. But I feel like that Jag and Jess to this point had been pretty savvy operators in terms of that their whole game on The Amazing Race is like, hey, we are trying to manage our threat level we do not want people to think that we are the big threats. We are going to let Natalie and her sister end up being in first place because we don't want to be the team that everybody is looking at as the team that's at the front of the pack. So I thought that they had done a really good job so far of trying to manage that. And this is now the first time that they seem like they have made a move that really does put them very much in the spotlight.
And I guess maybe the other logic I could think of is like, again, if I'm taking Jazz at face value, right, which is at the roadblock, he's with Taylor and he's like, just so you know, like, we got to work together now. Like maybe it was to keep their quote unquote meat shield in the game, but also like that also has them burn an express pass, which could be pretty nice. I mean, I guess Jag and Jazz don't need to necessarily worry about threats right now. I think that's also maybe part of some of the disagreement in logic. You have Izzy and Paige through one of their many fun one-liners talk about like, why are they U-turning a team that they know they can beat? And it's because I do think that they have taken on somewhat of the Kylan Big Brother 23 mentality of like, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And like, hey, we want to work alongside the big threats instead of you turning them, which again, you think you might do with this power. It still feels like even with that though, like, I don't know. It still feels like not the greatest logic to be like, let me protect this one specific team by targeting another team that has a very good chance of staying in the race.
So we mentioned Joseph and Adam that they end up using the double U-turn second part on Christina and Rabina. Any other part of that we want to talk through?
Well, I just think it's interesting that you have these teams that are so tightly aligned doing things at cross purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And from a strategic standpoint, I think it just highlights again the suboptimal use of the U-turn at the top of the U-turn board.
Yeah, I'm still, again, a little, I watched that scene a bunch of times and I was trying to figure out, like, again, were Jag and Jess really on board with this? Were they aware of sort of like the low-key ulterior motive that Joseph and Adam had? And even with Joseph and Adam, the Christina and Rabina choice is interesting because if you look at the teams that were behind them, okay, want to protect Izzy and Paige, want to protect Hannah and Simone, Jack and Chelsea were an option. Like, I imagine they still saw them working on the fish as they were running up to the U-turn board. Now, maybe they have a relationship that we don't know about, but I mean, the Rabina and Christine thing was interesting because then it garners, as Taylor talks about, the optics of it all.
Yeah. Okay. This is also
maybe they may have forgotten that Jack and Chelsea were there because I certainly do.
Yeah, it seemed like on Chat BCC there was talk about that the BB26 teams were the teams that were most likely to have been targeted, still trying to break that up. I know Angela's not there, but you still have 3 teams from BB26 that are in the race. But yeah, let's talk about all of this because this becomes like a very hot button issue of this idea of the male teams targeting the female teams. And we're going to have this in double U-turn and maybe even by the leg construction itself, as we'll talk about later on. So Taylor mentions that this is what happens on The Amazing Race. The male teams are targeting the female teams. Jess, do you want to address, is that a common theme on The Amazing Race?
I don't know if it's a common theme on The Amazing Race, but I do think that there is a perception that the female teams are weaker, comparatively speaking. And Amazing Race has done a lot to fix that over time because there was a period of time in there where the only women you would get on the race would be like the very tiny girl with her huge boyfriend, or you would get the team of like
cheerleaders.
Yeah. we're gonna
Mhm.
use our pretty, our pretty faces and our charm to get further in the race. And some
We're
of
the
these
pink
teams,
team.
some of these teams turned out to be great. Like some of them turned out to be excellent racers. Like they underestimated me because I'm so beautiful.
Mhm.
This is a stereotype we've moved away from somewhat over the years, and I think to the betterment of the race.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I do agree with Taylor to some extent here that the optics of this are not good.
Yes.
Yes.
But we know that at least the motive of Joseph was actually to help some of the women teams.
I mean, that's the thing is that,
Target
again,
women to save women, Jess.
I don't know. It's like some women, but not other women.
feminism,
think
the ultimate zero-sum equation, yeah. But I think, once again, two things can be true. This, just looking at the U-turn board, does not look good and does promote a narrative of exclusion. But also, the narrative of there being a gentleman's agreement is also incorrect.
Okay,
this
yeah,
is
let's
like
talk
this is
about
like on Survivor when they're like, "Ooh, it's the girls' alliance."
Yeah, it was like a little bit of giving the Russell like must be in danger. Like there's a women's alliance that's running things. Russell, I'll give you my idol. So, but there was actually it seemed like that there was also some, miscommunications and misunderstandings where it seemed like that we saw where Eric was listening to so it was Eric was listening to Kyland, who was talking about the gentleman's agreement that he overheard.
That, I don't know. I don't want to call like editing shenanigans, but like that whole sequence kind of confused me because it's like we cut between Kylan saying this a number of times. The camera was on his back. We never heard him actually say it. Was he saying it so loudly that Tucker was within earshot to hear this? Why was Kylan complaining about this on the way to the roadblock?
Okay, so to speak to that, I believe it was Kylan on Chat BCC mentioned that what had happened was that the producers were asking Kylan to repeat this, and then what Eric heard was what Kylan was telling to the producer about this gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, because you could also see a universe where they're like sitting in confessionals and the producer seeds like, hypothetically speaking, what would happen if somebody had a gentleman's agreement? And then you just get like all these audio clips of everybody saying gentleman's agreement 100 times, and you could stitch something together from that. But
yeah, and I don't want to misquote what Kylan had said, so I'm trying to see if I can pull it up.
It is useful that we have this resource of Chat BCC. It's really like,
which you can read it for yourself. Go to robertswebsite.com/VIP chat.
It really, some of it kind of takes the suspense out of it. It takes the curiosity out, because I feel like at this point in time, it's like how you used to be able to look things up in the encyclopedia when you wanted to know the answer and it may or may not be in there, as opposed to now you have the internet and you can just Google everything, how it kind of ruins trivia disagreements. It's the same thing here. Like if I wonder anything about the Amazing Race, I could just go into Chat BCC and I could ask the racers and somebody's going to answer me, which is
okay.
Even us, like we have unprecedented access to the racers, and that's us.
Yeah. Okay. So Taylor ended up writing on Chat BCC. Jag and Jess gave us a quick heads up. There was a gentleman's agreement between two teams. They passed Jag and Jazz, Nat and Steph, and Joseph and Adam as they were leaving the U-turn, where they told us that they packed the board to protect us. And Kylan was asked to narrate to the camera crew what was happening. And that is what Eric ended up hearing.
Okay. Well, what's also interesting is that reality TV is built on the idea that perception is reality. And so even if, again, this did not end up being the case, the Tucker and Eric are doing the Nini leaks like, now why am I in this? I didn't do anything. I purposely said no blood on my hands. It is interesting now that they're saying, oh, I guess you're going to come after me. Now, I imagine, given just the general timbre of this cast, they would be foolish not to throw at least one more U-turn into the mix. And so this will, obviously I think the Izzy and Paige versus Jag and Jazz will be, 1A of possible storylines carrying into that. But certainly a 1B could be okay, if these guys are feeling like, or if Tucker and Eric in particular are feeling like Taylor and Kyland are coming after them, could that be their chance to take a shot at a team that has an express pass?
Let's start to bring in our order of finish here, and we'll start off by talking about Tucker and Eric. I think that Tucker and Eric are an interesting story because in some ways, and tell me if I'm way off base here, I feel like that they are this interesting character. It's a little bit like how Tucker was in the Big Brother house, that they are the team that is in very much in first place, but I feel like that they have underdog energy. Is that crazy to think? Because they're in first place over and over again, but they're not part of any alliance.
Well, I think this is you're
Except
stuck
for the
in
guy's girlfriend who happens to be on the show, but she's so far behind, it's really not useful.
the problem is, Rob, I think you're thinking of this in terms of Big Brother. Like you've not gotten out of Big Brother.
No.
Because in Big Brother, if you're in the house without an alliance, you know, it's not good. It's not looked at as a good thing here. An Amazing Race, you can certainly, with a few exceptions, you can certainly go as far as anybody that is in alliance without being in an alliance, because to a certain extent you cannot affect the outcome. Like you can help each other in a task, you can U-turn, but if you're a really good racer, you can still rise above that.
Yeah.
It takes a Taylor Hale to not do that in the Big Brother house, you know?
Yeah.
So these guys, this is a team, I feel like they have all the ingredients to be a team that wins a normal Amazing Race season.
Yes.
And I think what you're seeing here is that sort of collection of attributes that makes a good Amazing Race team normally.
Yeah.
And they just happen to be not as affected by all of this alliance drama.
Well,
And I will say, these guys, this is the team that I would be less inclined to like in any given season, but they are really very likable.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Eric seemed like he was if they're looking to reboot the MCU anytime soon, go for like a I don't know, a Universe 616 version of Captain America. Eric Delorier, come on down. Like, it's gone understated how incredibly handsome this man is.
Wow. I thought you were going to say something bad.
No.
No, I did not anticipate. Like, I was waiting for you to be like, well, actually, when Tucker was on Big Brother, he was a terrible person, and you don't know this because you don't watch Big Brother. No, I didn't realize you were going to be thirsting.
So,
okay,
yeah. Are you saying, Mike, that it was a bad look for Tucker to show up on The Amazing Race with a relative who was hotter than him?
To be fair, at this moment, he was taking care of. So yeah, so it's not like he was necessarily trying to come across as, you know, the more attractive of the two options. And maybe he was trying to be the wingman to Eric. We still don't know. I was really hoping, speaking of fan fiction, the Eric and Christine, you know, world where the two of them pair off and try to make it a double date situation. We'll have to see on Chat BCC if they talk about that. But this is just wanted to just take the time to say that Eric is a very good-looking man. They're a good-looking team, too, both in the aesthetic department as well as in the race department. I think to answer your question as well as to, like, why they are so largely out of it, too, I wonder if, you know, from our perspective, it looks like Jag and Jess are just so freaking powerful. Why would anyone want to work with them? From, like, the bits and pieces I've gotten from other racers, I think that was very much the perception of Tucker and Eric. That these were guys that were perfect at literally everything, could just like do anything at the drop of a hat, really never struggled in anything at all. And so maybe it's this idea of, okay, you're too powerful to work with. Why would we want to join up with you when you're the biggest threats to possibly win? I actually wonder, to a certain extent, if they like fell behind it all, if they got lost, got tangled up in the nets at all, the right team got to the U-turn board. Could they have been U-turned?
Yeah, maybe they're seen as too perfect.
Could be the case.
Yep. Okay. All right, we'll see what happens next time. Was this back-to-back first place finishes for Tucker and Eric?
It was, yes. The first non-fast forward handicapped first place finish for the two of them.
Okay, all right. Kyland and Taylor end up in second place this week. I believe that's their highest finish.
Yeah, they're moving on up. I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit about the roadblock here as well, because Kylan was one of the, I would say maybe the only person to really not struggle with this task at all in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and so that this is something that was also talked about on Chat BCC. It was not really talked about on the episode, but really, as we talked about today with Hannah and Simone, the physics of it all on the cobblestone streets of King's Landing is that if you have more weight in your little go-kart, you will go faster. And not only is Kylan a big guy, but Kylan also had the presence of mind to bring his backpack also.
That was smart.
That was so
I
smart.
didn't see anybody else doing that.
Yeah, I got to watch this episode last night alongside Izzy and Paige, which was a fantastic time watching them react once more to living through it a second time. But
yeah, how many times did they give the finger to the TV? Can you say?
Oh my God. I wish I could count on my fingers, but I think that would be inappropriate. But it's interesting because like I was watching this alongside, friend of the podcast, Maggie Morgan, and we were both like, why does Kylan have his backpack on? Like, put it down, dude. And then especially as we get towards the tail end and into some of the lighter women that are struggling time and time again to get it done, it's like, oh yeah, that probably could have helped. And I don't know, you seemingly talked to them about this, if they like were able to stop down and get their backpacks, or like,
no, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, so once it was done, it was done. Because yeah, Newton's second law of motion, baby. Like, put more M in that FA, and you'll be able to go a lot further, a lot faster.
Yeah,
I do think they tried to mitigate that a little bit with the fact that you had to put the cart together before you got on the cart, but I'm not sure they did enough.
no. For Kylan and Taylor, they just had no issue with the fish, even though it was not what Taylor wanted to be doing. She'd rather have been in a string bikini rather than cutting up a fish.
I'd rather cut up a fish than put on a string bikini, but that's me.
That sounds like the ultimate detour choice.
Yeah. But
string up a fish or string up a bikini.
Yeah. Otherwise, I do feel like that, we got the beginning of this storyline of, okay, Kylan and Taylor are sort of like, their eyes are open to potentially this gentleman's agreement.
This seems like a little bit overblown, but we'll see if it comes back at any point. But I will say, I think Kylan and Taylor had a couple of strings of rotten luck very early on in the race, and we're seeing now, like, when things shake out well for them, they are a force.
Yeah. Okay. Look, not unlike Taylor's Big Brother game, rocky start, but then is starting to come into bloom.
Once you get past those cobblestones, it's all smooth asphalt from there.
Okay. All right. Jazz and Jag, third place.
Let's talk about Jag and the roadblock here. Again, we've talked about the rare opportunities where they stumble. Obviously, a lot that happened last week was not their fault whatsoever and was the result of abject racial discrimination. But I was a little surprised with Jag just sort of trying to hand tighten everything. And maybe it was, again, this idea of like, all right, if I'm just sort of loosely putting together and going down, they don't have it. I don't know if they knew that they had a certain time limit to, aspire to before they started. But like, yeah. Obviously, he did not expect the road to be that bumpy where everything just fell off along the way. It's the opposite of the movie The Jerk, where he was dropping things on the way out.
Wasn't planning for the cobblestones.
I want to be fair here. If he almost made it on the first try.
True.
He was like 2 seconds off. If he had made it on the first try and like just shed parts of his cart the entire way down and then got it in 36 seconds on that first try, that is a gamble that would have paid off big time. And we would be lauding this as the biggest risk.
Street luge. Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest risk reward in Amazing Race history.
It's a good question as to the logistics of it. Because I know that when he ends up succeeding on the second try, he used his legs to inch himself forward. I wasn't sure if there were rules as to like what body parts you could use. Cause like, what could stop you from like just breaking out into an all-out sprint for 36 seconds.
Like, just
know,
pick it up
carrying
and
the
like
thing.
yeet it
Yeah.
over your head.
Yeah, like, oh, it got there.
I think that would not be in the spirit of it. I was really confused because I thought at first, and again, I'm not always quick with the uptake on these things. I thought you had to win the race. I thought you had to be the first out of your group of 4. Like, I thought, like, okay, you got to win. And then it's like people are like coming in like second and third and like, oh, they got through. I guess, oh, it's a time limit.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fun. It would obviously not be fair considering
I
that
thought it
you
was like
have
a
to
sausage race, you know? Just just come in first out of the 4.
It's like the presidents at
Yeah,
RFK
nationals.
Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I could be what, the head-to-head from that capacity?
Mm-hmm. I like that.
But yeah, I mean, good on Jag as well. Like, I thought he was pretty sunk when he shed so many parts along the way, but he was able to somehow use those eagle eyes to, like, actually find everything to cobble it together, for lack of a better term, to survive that second time.
Okay, so Jazz and Jag survived this leg of the race, but not without a target on their back coming in the form of Izzy and Paige. We'll get to them. All right, Joseph and Adam. And this was, the second week in a row where we saw some major struggles for Joseph with trying to assemble this cart.
Yeah, there were so many little details with this cart that made it really, you never think that watching people put together IKEA furniture could be entertaining. But I think with this bunch, they could have made it that.
Yeah, this was so interesting. There were some people that had no problem with it, and some people had such a big problem with this.
Well, because I think, from what it sounds like, it came down to the fact that the trick to this was that there were 2 screws that were just a little bit different than the rest of them. And so if you put them in the wrong places, and also depending on how much force you put in to that, I mean, that's the problem, is that, people love to talk about the idea of Joseph stripping, but when he strips a screw, it's a completely different bucket of chum. And so I think the problem was, right, that Joseph just like brute forced his way too much into it and just wasn't catching whatsoever, to the point where he had to like jut up a block to stop it from spinning so he could actually get it out after a certain amount of time.
That was smart thinking, though. I was waiting for somebody to strip out a screw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was using his teeth at one point, so luckily the much more preferable option.
I could feel that. I think also on Chat BCC, Joseph, I think had to undo one of the things, and he couldn't get the screw off that he had gotten screwed on. And they told me, well, if you can screw it on, you can screw it off.
All right, Rip Torn from Dodgeball.
Okay. All right. So Joseph and Adam, they end up coming out. Christina and Rubina seem like, we understand everything. It's the Amazing Race. We had to get you turned.
Yeah, what a contrast, honestly.
We like those guys. All right. Natalie and Stephanie, we talked about how they blew past the double U-turn, did not want any part of the drama, but it was Natalie who also had the trouble with the go-kart. This, to me, did seem like a Stephanie task. I was surprised that this was a Natalie roadblock.
Yeah, well, she even says that she thinks Stephanie probably should have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wild, because I believe that Jazz was like yelling at them like, oh, it's a building thing. So it's not like you would even get deceived by the prompt or anything. But again, I will say, one person's highly judged decision is another person's incredible television, because we got to witness Natalie Negrotti going on an entire monologue for the latter half of the episode. And it was fantastic. She went into monologues. She was repeating a mantra to herself. I feel bad for her, again, personal amount of debilitation, but it was glorious to watch.
Yeah. What was the mantra, Mike?
It has to be flat.
Has to lay flat.
Has to lay flat.
Yeah, it was really giving Indiana Jones, penitent man shall pass. Penitent man, the penitent man.
Yeah. So it took them a long time to get there. And then it took a long time for Natalie to get down the ramp or get down the street.
But I will laud her, because she did another technique that was a lot of fun.
Sorry. No, she actually didn't have that much of a problem, because she went head first.
She did the bobsled technique,
yeah.
Right? She tried to make herself as low as possible. She kneeled on the board, and so she was able to get it in a couple of tries despite not having that much weight. I will also say, listen, think we had a little bit of fun last week, poking fun at maybe Natalie not knowing what juggling is. Made me feel a little worse when we found out this week that like the primary way she digests instructions is through an entire other language itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, good on them for being able to, again, work through some things, perhaps in a language that they're not completely accustomed to, especially in a pressurized situation.
Okay. All right. Now let's get to Jack and Chelsea. And Jack and Chelsea, they had not too much issue with cutting up the fish. They end up getting through it. They didn't get double U-turned, but coming down the street really was a problem for Chelsea, who really had a hard time getting down the street. Also was crashing quite a bit. Crashing and crashing out.
Yeah, right into the tires, like every single time she came down.
I was trying to remember, though, that one time where she collided with the other guy. Was that her fault or his fault?
I want to say hers, but I would have to go back to the tape.
She had a few near misses where it seems like she would have made it and then crashed into like the tire like at the finish line. She ran over her finger.
Yeah, I think that was what Paige espoused later on, which is like, if you go too hard out of the gate, then like when you go around this big turn, you're just going to like veer off too much to the right and crash.
It's basic Mario Kart.
Okay. But nobody got any turtle shells. See, that would have been, instead of a U-turn. Okay, hear me out.
Yeah.
Instead of a U-turn, everybody's got to race their carts at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. And you want, like, instead of U-turn, you get like a red turtle shell. It's like, I'm going to hit like Tucker and Eric.
Yeah. Well, haven't I always said that the U-turn is basically like having the red turtle shell?
Yeah. I mean, just say send people far back. It's not like a blue. Obviously, it's the opposite of the blue turtle shell because you can't U-turn someone that's ahead of you. But
right,
it's basically the next best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to say that I think Jack is entertaining low key on Amazing Race because he's like the most out of his element of anybody here. Like everybody else, their loved ones are like close to their age and could be someone who could plausibly be cast on a show. Jack is just not in this reality TV world at all. Yeah, he's just Jack. He's just like along for the ride and just rolling with it. And this makes for a very entertaining dynamic.
Yeah. I completely agree. When at the U-turn board, when Jack's like, "Oh, that's just Big Brother house stuff," it's like, yeah, you have no concern about this, sir. Did you know what Big Brother is before your daughter played?
I don't even know that he watched. He may not have watched it.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure Jack did. I like the stories about Coach Jack.
And was it Coach Jack or was it more so like argumentative dad on the sidelines, Jack?
Well, they talked about like when Chelsea was in sports that her dad would, yell a lot.
And yeah, I think as someone whose son is starting to participate in those types of things, you realize very quickly that those are not the coaches. They certainly believe that they are, but they are not.
Okay. All right. Let's get to Izzy and Paige. Izzy and Paige, who they go and they first cut up the fish and they come through and go to the double U-turn board and they are big mad that Jag and Jess have U-turned them.
I almost think it's worth U-turning Izzy and Paige just because you get Izzy's one-liners.
It was so... From the moment she says, "Surprise, Jazz and beeping Jag. What losers, you threatened little boys."
Yeah.
Through, everything with Paige looking dead into the camera and saying, "Jag and Jazz, I never followed you on Instagram."
Yeah.
It was Shakespearean, honestly.
Yeah. We got a double bird to the double U-turn board.
Relatable, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I love Izzy and Paige, but if I was in Amazing Race with them, I would be needling them to make them mad, like just because it's entertaining.
Yeah. Is this all the more reason that this is a not ideal choice to U-turn somebody that is going like notoriously like Izzy is not somebody that you want to get on their bad side?
Definitely don't U-turn the people that are going to take it the most personally, I feel.
Yeah. Especially when it wasn't like they were in 9th place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Again, not to besmirch too much about Jag and Jess. I nothing against them. I just don't agree with the decision. But again, it
they never
made
did anything to us.
No, but again, it made for some fantastic one-liners. As that's one of the other fun things about the U-turn is like people can act very despondent in reaction to the U-turn, but Izzy and Paige were filled with a fire and fury like no other, where every single step they were taking, they were pretending to like step on Jag and Jess's toes, of like, all right, let's use our hate to motivate us through each and everything right here. But it was also interesting to like have them support each other too, where we've seen instances where like a team will get yielded or U-turned, and it's like one person is acting incredibly pissy about it. The other one's like, what are you doing? Come on, get your head back in the game. But like we have this exchange where Izzy's like, let me be angry. And Paige is like, all right, it's fine. There's an exchange after that where Izzy's like, I'm sorry, I can't, be fake. And Paige's like, no, that's what I love about you. So again, it's like also a weird bonding experience for the two of them of like, hey, we went through this shitty thing together. And so let's use this as an opportunity to showcase how badass we are.
I mean, good for Paige, honestly, for like, Izzy says, I need to be angry. And Paige's like, okay, I will also be angry.
Yeah.
Couple goals.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, why bother being with anybody who's not going to fight your petty battles for you?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and I will say, with no offense to Adam Abden, Paige has officially cemented her place as like the best quote unquote loved one of the season, in my opinion. Just so good. So many great lines of, her deadpan to the camera after reading the roadblock prompt. I feel like I'm certainly feeling like everything's going downhill. I love her. There's a low-key thing with Paige and the task judges. I don't know if you guys noticed this, where this past episode, when they picked up the net, she's like, hey, just so you know, we're taking these nets, so it looks like we're not stealing them. And there was something where when she did the roadblock, when she was walking on the tower, she's like, okay, so yeah, this is safe. You're still alive. Like, I just, for some reason, I love watching Paige interact with these local people each and every week. I could have a whole entire show about that alone.
And don't forget that Paige also got a wrench for her 16th birthday. It's
amazing. Like I thought that was the traditional 17th birthday gift.
No. What is Paige's profession?
She is a lighting designer.
Yeah, she's in theater.
So that's why she says when she works with the wrench often, I mean, they use that all the time to get lights on and off of rigs. So she was more than happy to do it. The issue she had more so was like the actual steering of the cart proper.
Yeah. And once Paige gets there, she says, I know that this is going to be difficult because I know that who was still there at that point that was still really
Chelsea. It's really fun because she walked up and she went, oh, you're still here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they really caught up a lot of ground where that they, got ahead of some of these teams or at least got caught up to teams that had not done the double U-turn. Eventually, Paige gets through, and then eventually they get to the mat to celebrate with Phil.
I feel like Phil is also, their dynamic with Phil is pretty great too. You could tell like he isn't supposed to have favorites, but sometimes he does.
Yeah, and they say they're ready to be done playing the polite game. They were playing the polite game up to this.
That's the thing. It's like, oh, if that was them when they were polite, just wait until things start getting real.
Yeah. All right.
That's a different show, Mike.
Let's talk about then Christine and Rabina. One thing that was throwing me off a little bit, Rabina seems to exclusively refer to her sister as Pulan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a family nickname. What is their heritage? You guys watch
Filipino, right?
Yeah, they're Filipino.
Yeah, they're Filipino.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was throwing me off because look, I have a hard time. I know we're 5 episodes in, but like, I'm trying to keep up with all the loved one names.
That's true. And now they're giving nicknames in.
Nicknames,
you mentioned,
like pick one name.
You mentioned Sissy a couple times.
That you used to call her Sissy. That's what I call her now.
Which makes you feel weird because you're like, I don't know you like that, but I have to call you Sissy because you called her Sissy.
Okay, but this was the day from hell for Christine and Rabina. I want to call them Christina and Rabina, really.
Yeah, that's throwing me off too.
Yeah, but that's not her name. Christine is here, and so Rubina cuts her hand open. We got that earlier on. They get to the double U-turn board, and they really have a hard time even finding. We saw the teams were really struggling to find, what is it, the Bula bar?
Booza bar.
Booza
Booza bars
bar.
in Fiji.
Booza bar in
What?
Fiji,
Nothing
yeah.
against these Croatians. Why do you have? I mean, I guess I don't know. We come from New York City, where there's a Joe's Pizza in each and every borough. But like, how do you have two Booza bars? And I felt so bad for that poor worker. That's like, no, you want to go to Little Booza Bar, please.
Well,
Yeah.
it's I don't even think the analog is like Famous Rays and Famous Original Rays. I think it's more like this is just, booze bar. It's like calling it alcohol bar. And I would imagine there might be even more of them. There might be like several. It might be like just kind of the generic name they give to the bar that's like outside the city walls there. I'm honestly not sure, but it sure seemed like the woman working there, it was not the first day she'd had to answer that question.
Yeah. So Izzy and Paige, I think, also did, and
yeah. So that was fun because they were the first, and they were there for a while, and then they were finally like, "Is there another one?" They said, "Oh yeah." And then by the time Christina and Rubina arrived, it's like, "Oh yeah, you're with the camera crew. Great. Go to the other one. Go to Little Booza."
Okay. So, and I felt bad for Christine and Rubina because this was also a tough challenge to do for some shorter racers to carry these nets through the street.
Yeah, but they are stronger than they look.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they ended up just dragging the net through part of it until they finally got to the go-kart. And then it looked like they were going to catch up because then Christine seemed like so confident when she got the chance to put the thing together. I mean, she looked into the camera and called her shot. And she did build the thing fast.
Right. I mean, listen, she built her cat's cat tree. And so this was nothing. But then cat was out of the bag once it actually came to the racing proper. And it led to, I mean, this is the tough thing because we know now at this point how truly exhausted these people were. They've spoken multiple times about the train rides that they took. Some of them were overnight. They barely slept during those legs. I hope they got at least some sleep during the flight on the way to Croatia. But with Christine, even with
all that turbulence.
Exactly. With Christine and even with Simone, you could just tell just how much was on their shoulders at that time. And that even Chelsea, the reason why they were kind of throwing these fits was because it was frustration combined with the fact that they just have not rested in the past 3 to 4 days straight. And so Christine was just having an absolute meltdown. And God, so freaking cathartic for her to just be weeping when she finally got it, to have those angry tears turn into happy tears.
Yeah. It was a very dramatic moment where we had, who was still racing? It was Chelsea, Paige, Christine, and Simone were all the four of them trying to go. So when we started over, it was okay, was it Eric versus 3 randos? This was getting very dramatic.
Yeah, this was like when you get all 4 people to pick up the controllers to play Mario Kart.
Yeah.
There's no CPU anywhere.
Yeah. And so it really did look very bleak for Christine and Rubina. They were at points where Christine was basically crying. She couldn't do it. Ultimately, they finally get it.
This is a kind of team that I really love watching on Amazing Race. The kind that have the big feelings.
Yeah.
It's not the same as an Izzy and Paige that will react big and take things to a personal level, although that is also extremely entertaining. But the teams that really have a huge reaction to everything that happens to them are among the most fun teams to watch. I feel like I think Rachel is kind of that prototype for sure. But there's always at least one team that everything they do is just they're going to definitely bring emotion into it and make for good television.
And that's the interesting thing about these U-turns as well, especially the teams that survive, is not only the bad blood that will emerge subsequently, but also for them, this is a huge signifier of what they're capable of accomplishing, right? Of here we are, we got U-turn for no good reason. We got, sent to carry these heavy nets through all of Dubrovnik. Christine put together a cart and raced it down 50 times, and yet still we survived. It's able to serve as like a weird personal motivator, despite the fact that they came so close to being eliminated. But, whenever and wherever they place, this, I think, is going to be something big they look back on. Christine said this is like one of the hardest things she's had to do in her life. She will never go go-karting after this.
So sad. All right, let's talk about Hannah and Simone, who end up getting eliminated. Not double U-turned, but they ended up having their share of difficulties. We start with skin this fish, skin them all, and Hannah Chada had no problem whatsoever with completely dissecting this fish.
Who would have thought we'd get a Jeffrey Dahmer reference on The Amazing Race? And who would have thought it'd be Hannah Chada who would have made the Jeffrey Dahmer reference?
Yeah. But she was so precise with it, and Simone was really struggling. And then they got to the point where they said, okay, let's switch detours.
This was interesting, and I wish that I had had time to ask them this. And Mike, maybe you did. I haven't had a chance to check out your exit interview. If they had switched, do you think they would have wound up in this position?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, what they basically said, the reason why they didn't switch was because of the fact that they had gone to 3 different people, all of whom did not have cell service at that point and could not get directions. That was the only thing that was stopping them from actually switching. They had this hard and fast rule. Jess, you talk about this all the time of if you pick a detour task, try it for X amount of time or X attempts. If you're not getting it, cut bait, for lack of a better term, switch, go over to the other task. And they did that. It's just that because it was taking so long to actually get there, they're like, all right, we might as well just go back and do it. And so from that perspective, I actually don't know, because I don't know how many more times they had to do it after they returned. If it was just 1 or 2 more times, then honestly, maybe it was better that they returned at the end of the day. The answer just might have been if it was a lost cause at any point, because even if they got like 15, 20 minutes back, that probably didn't help the karting of it all. Simone said she did the go-karts like 25 or 26 times at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we got to doing the go-karts, and Simone was really struggling with building the go-kart, even though she built her own IKEA furniture.
Well, the
and part
IKEA
of her couch,
furniture,
as we found out.
IKEA furniture comes with a little diagram and a little cartoon guy.
It
always sucks.
Should they include that now? Just like these wordless diagrams of Phil showcasing what to put where?
I hope Phil's feeling better too.
He seemed better this time. He still seemed exhausted, but his voice was starting to come back.
Okay, well that's good. And then we talked about it. Simone really struggled with going down the ramp, going down the street.
Yeah, well, they mentioned that it was a physics thing. It was just because they were so much smaller than everybody else. It was harder for any of them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the 4 people at the end of this roadblock were like the lightest, smallest women that were on the cast.
Yeah, usually they do a better job on The Amazing Race, but to this Amazing Race challenge designers, we say to you, shame. Shame. Shame.
They went full 150cc. They had to scale it back down to 50cc at the end of the day.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I think the mountain came in first on this leg of the Westeros race.
The mountain.
Blew right down.
Yeah, the hound, no problem.
Yeah, Brienne, she was great.
Did great.
No, they were more in the Arya Stark territory.
Mm-hmm. Tyrion, struggle.
Yeah, not so much Tyrion.
Yeah. Bran, well, he had the chair. He was good.
Do you think Bran could have used the chair?
Mm-hmm. He was fine. Yeah. All right. Anything else about Hannah and Simone's run here? I mean, there were some things they talked about it with us today, Jess. That there were some tasks that they went to. This wasn't like with all due respect to some of the other teams where that they didn't struggle all the time. That they had other times when they were the first ones through the tasks.
Yeah, I think what we saw of them, we saw a lot of their strengths on display. We didn't see a team that circled the drain for 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think a different set of tasks, and they could have been in it to the end.
Okay, how about a couple of comments? This is one from I'm the biggest bird. I came in a few minutes late, so I don't know if this was talked about, but special shout out to Tucker and Eric for asking to keep the cab driver's map. That was clutch.
Yep. It was a really low-key move, but it's those small moves that can sometimes lead to first-place finishes. Tucker literally shouts out at one point, like, we got that map! So, yeah, I mean, if they couldn't pick up a map to Dubrovnik at the airport
Or an ice cream
anything,
cone.
yeah, the next best thing is just, maybe they spent all their money. They meant to buy a map, but they spent all their money on ice cream cones and magnets. They're like, all right, Cabby, can you give us a map? And they were able to utilize it to get around the streets.
Okay. All right. Buzz Uncut said, I started watching this. Can you give me a shout out when I hear it in an hour? Okay. So, yeah, shout out to Buzz Uncut. And then Nathan Green wanted to know, did anyone ask Rob why he made fun of The Amazing Race during the live show?
Oh, we got to address this, right, Jess?
Yeah, I was reading the comments from the podcast that I wasn't on, and there was some talk about that I made fun of The Amazing Race. What did I say?
You said, okay, because I was like, excuse me, Robert. I've been podcasting with you for 13 years and I deserve better. You said to everybody, the joke you made was, we're going to watch Survivor together. And I was like, yeah. And then you said, and afterward, they're expecting you to say, we're going to have this amazing podcast. Yes. And you said, and after that, we're going to watch The Amazing Race. And like 5 people in the audience didn't know if you were kidding or not. And they're like, yay.
Yeah.
And it was like the cheapest shot at Amazing Race that you've ever taken.
Look, I like to mess with people. And so I thought it would be funny to tell the audience that, no, we're not going to do a podcast. We're going to watch another show.
We're going to watch
like that better.
You know, I mean, Amazing Race, I say it over and over. It's like when you go to steakhouse and you order the vegetarian platter.
Yeah.
And I know this.
I'll have the monkfish.
No, listen, Jess, we had all beef going on this episode.
Yeah, that's true. There was a lot of beef this episode.
Okay.
Like, vegans, watch out.
Anything else that we want to talk about here after episode 5 of The Amazing Race? We're halfway next week?
That's what Rabina said.
Yeah.
Goes by fast.
All right. Any other thoughts about this episode?
I mean, it was solid.
I wonder if, I think that, again, I'll call up what I said last week. I think this season has really been picking up between last week's just cavalcade of chaos and this week's drama. Obviously, there's going to be a lot going into next week. These teams are inevitably going to see each other, you think? And so hopefully we get to have a little bit of a confrontation soon.
That'll be fun.
Looks like we're going to get into some car trouble. Looks like Natalie and Stephanie might finally come to head about like how much are we helping other teams. So it seems like there's a lot of tension going on. Again, these people continue to get tired and now they have reasons to be mad at each other. So things are going to get very spicy moving forward.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about it all next week on The Amazing Race Recap. Jess, anything else coming up for you?
Nothing else coming up for me at the moment. I'm hanging out in Chat BCC. I'm also on Blue Sky a lot. That's where I'm dropping my Amazing Race thoughts. And we're having a good season. I think it's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah. And the Chat BCC has been lit. I mean, almost all of the racers are there talking about what's going on. So there's a little bit of when somebody says something about somebody else, then there's a little bit of like explaining that people have to do. So fun way to get some additional race content.
Yeah, it is really unprecedented access to the racers, and that's fun. And it's also like some of the mystery is gone, but maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. What up, Tim? Says fun spending time with y'all tonight. Shout out to my monkfish at the crib.
Have you guys eaten monkfish?
No. What's the difference between a monkfish and the blobfish?
Monkfish is infinitely more delicious. I don't know. I haven't eaten a blobfish, but monkfish is delicious.
Well, the monkfish likes to solve crimes with OCD, and it gets the job done.
Okay. All right. Mr. Mike Bloom, what's coming up for you?
Well, you can check out my chat with Hannah and Simone, which was lovely. It was such a good time. And I should say, I should probably change my lower third here to be Mike Chada, because I was adopted as a Chada sister over the course of the interview. So an incredibly touching moment for me from an incredibly touching duo. So be sure to check that out. Also did Survivor Exit Press going to do the B&B. If you missed it last week, I spoke with Big D from Big Brother 23 about his thoughts on Kyland and the recently departed Hannah. Hannah also had some very choice words for Kyland giving the express pass to Jag and Jess rather than them. So
yes,
be sure to check that out. But she'll hopefully have another interview this coming weekend with someone talking about this season. And last thing I mentioned, Rob, you plugged it. Sure, I'll plug this as well. I spoke with Boston Rob about this Kahlua Dunkin' deal where he was sitting in a cup. It was supposed to be revealed on Watch What Happens Live tonight, but then I got informed that the cup was too big to fit into the studio, so they couldn't do it. So it's just out there on the internet. But I talked with, yes, this is 2025. This is the reality that we live in. So I got the chance to talk with Boston Rob, and I tried to narrow down a little bit because he has been out there in LA supporting the great Nicholas Harrison, Dylan Efron on Dancing with the Stars this season. And I asked him, would you want to add another, Infinity Stone to your reality TV gauntlet? And he didn't say no.
Okay.
So if you want to watch him convince all the other celebrities to drop out during a week so that he could win first place, look at ABC in the coming years.
Okay, we'll see.
But I want to know,
yeah.
does the Kahlua Dunkin', does it actually have alcohol in it?
That's what I was trying to find out before.
Yeah. And can you order
just Kahlua flavoring?
I think it's probably Kahlua.
5 o'clock
flavor.
somewhere.
Yeah. Can I order it as part of the $6 breakfast meal deal?
I don't know. At Salma Hayek, she can answer that for you. Boss Rob also tells a funny story where he accidentally walked into Salma Hayek's trailer and was mobbed by her dogs.
Whoa.
All right.
Okay. All right. There you go. Thank you so much for joining us here on Amazing Race Recap. We'll be back with episode 6 next week. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.